should companies be thinking about investment in technology at a time of extreme stress and survival mode? I'm joined today by Shari Christofferson. She is president of Connect. Hi, Shari.
Hi, Bob. Good morning.
And thank you for being with me. I appreciate it. Now, I'm assuming that we are all literally in survival mode now. This is the time to pull back, draw in all the investment, wait until things get better before we start looking around and thinking about investing in pricey technology. Am I right?
I'm going to push back on you a little bit, Bob, on this.
Okay.
Yeah, what I'm seeing is that as companies are having to constrain their resources, at the same time, they really do have to continue to push in growth mode. And some documentation and surveys and research has actually shown that executives are, despite the fact of the sort of general business desire to cut, they still have to push forward with automation to get products out the door and for the survival of their business in the short and long term.
Okay, so we've decided then we do indeed need to make some kind of investment in technology. The question is where, how much, at what rate, and what's the return on investment? How do we make how do we get the answers to those questions?
Yes, and that's where I think a lot of executives and attendees at these at ProMat at the show are looking with some trepidation, right? They know they have to expand and bring in new technologies. It's a risk. So the question for them is, how do you mitigate your risk when you push forward into automation that's a little bit of an unknown, knowing that your shareholders and stakeholders need to see that return on investment sooner than later, right? It's a very delicate balance of time and deployment and getting it right away.
Well, I would like to think, up until COVID-19 came along, it was all about, from the investor standpoint, what's your quarterly result?
Right.
How did you grow from last quarter? How did you cut costs? How did you do that? Are we now a little bit more aware of the need for this mitigation approach, this longer view of things than we had before? Have we learned anything?
I think we really have. I think everybody's going and looking at the business has to be solvent for the long term. You hit a little bump in the short term, and they've seen that they can get through that. They can bounce back from a little bump in what it looks like on the stock market or on Wall Street and still be able to recover. Not to say that they have to ignore those responsibilities, obviously, but they need to take a little bit of a risk. And I think it's all of our responsibilities here at ProMat to make sure that we create a service level agreement or create a type of soft cushion, a strong confidence for them to mitigate their risk to move forward.
Yeah.
Or they are going to be stuck just like trying to focus on the bottom line second by second.
Well, in some cases, when it comes to labor, we really do have no choice, right? The people aren't there to do the job. Then we need to do something to not necessarily replace them, but at least augment them with some kind of technology. So that's a good argument for technology investment, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. That's the primary. You have to push forward. And without the resources and labor, we see that on Main Street all the time. Things are cut short. You can't get the service you want. Products are not coming to market as quickly as they used to. What do, right? Automation, having labor support, not only replacement, but labor enhancement and retention is becoming a huge priority.
Okay, so let's say, once again, we've agreed to make some kind of investment and the C-suite has signed off on it. But the C-suite's expectations with regard to return on investment are different than they used to be. You got to turn that around very quickly. How do you figure out the whole ROI factor and make sure that you're getting a fast ROI and yet still having to make this investment?
Bob, I would say that that's one of the big conceptual shifts is that it used to be a direct cost argument, or maybe it still is to some extent, but there has to be a strategic opportunity cost discussion about missing this moment to really push for automation and innovation and accept those risks, because this problem of labor probably isn't going away. So you gotta kind of jump in with both feet.
Yeah. Who do you have to convince in the organization? You have the chief, let's say there's a chief supply chain officer who is all too aware of the need for this investment, but then you have a CFO who's got the purse strings, and you've got a COO and a CEO who are like looking over their shoulder and saying, I don't know. Who's making the decisions today, and who do you have to direct that message to in order to make sure that a company is making the necessary investments?
I've noticed a lot of these larger enterprises in manufacturing and logistics are they're utilizing their team and creating a global innovation team, right? They're creating global strategy that advises.
Interesting.
They're kind of a liaison between the front line, the actual operations on the manufacturing floor, distribution floor, and the C-suite. And that group is really on the lookout. They have certain criteria. They're pushing Industry 4.0, and they're trying to bridge that gap of here's an ROI argument for something. They're getting pushback from the front line, who likes things to be consistent and steady and really a guarantee that they're going to be able to make their KPIs. And then you have on the executive side, of course, all the pressures of having to drive the business forward and make a return to your investors.
I like that idea. The idea you actually have people who are on board specifically to have that forward view.
Absolutely.
They are the innovation people.
They are.
And so they're the ones that are advising the organization, and maybe then you get something done. That's really interesting.
It seems to be working out when I interact with that team and my customers and prospects. I find them very forward thinking, very much willing to listen and try to bridge that gap in a clever way, right? They have to look at the business a little differently.
Right. Shari, thanks for the pushback.
Really
appreciate it. And the importance of taking the long view while not taking your eye off the ball in terms of the need for ROI and survival. There's a whole mentality here you're talking about of creativity and innovation that companies need to keep at the forefront. So thanks very much for that. Let me take a moment though and talk to the member of the mobile pit crew of Connect. I see you're wearing a jacket that sort of suggests that you are in the business of like changing the tires in the middle of a race. And, tell me about Connect and where you guys fit in.
So starting from that high level of our discussion here, what I'm seeing is those innovation directors and all across, especially at operations level, they want confidence. They want a company to come in and help them build confidence that when they bring these innovative solutions in, automation, robotics, what have you, that their vendors really have their back. And that's why, we came up with this concept of like, we are part of that group. We are part of that team that you can count on to do a fast change, to get the information they need, to get the car back on the road, right? To get that product back out, to get your technology functioning back up and running if they run into hiccups. Because let's face it, nothing's perfect, but we got to try. We got to pull together as a team, as a pit crew, and make sure that automation stays on track for our customers.
And this is, we're talking about in the warehouse, the distribution center. I mean, what is it exactly that you folks provide to the facility that can be of value to companies?
So when they go and put robots out on the floor, manufacturing, distribution, they're often assisted by humans, of course, whether it's scanning devices, automation in a lot of different ways to gather data and move products through. We support the larger companies bringing that whole implementation, and we allow them to see the faults as they're happening, get an exact prescription for how to fix it and get it back out on the road. So it's where data analytics meets service, and our partners really like working with us because we can help them give that confidence to their customers that they've pulled together the right team, back to the pit crew theme, to really make sure when they build and deploy and run through that entire cycle that they can push harder to get that ROI faster.
Shari, thank you for helping us to start our engines.
Appreciate
your time. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
I've been speaking with Shari Christofferson of Connect. Thank you very much for watching.